I'm Rebecca, a 30-year-old woman who faced family challenges for many years. These difficulties began when I was just 20. At that age, I was a vibrant second-year psychology student, inspired by a therapist who had supported me after my father passed away during my childhood. My aspirations to become a clinical psychologist were strong. My academic life thrived with support of friends, and I was planning to study abroad the next year. However, everything shifted when my mother, Helen, who was 52, fell seriously ill with a chronic disease affecting her joints and muscles, causing her constant pain and reduced mobility. Doctors informed us that her disease had no fundamental treatment. My younger sister, Sarah, was only 15 and a moody high school student, often immersed in video games. Our dad had died in a car crash when Sarah was a baby. Our mother supported us as a legal secretary, but couldn't work anymore due to her illness. This left me feeling responsible for our family. Sitting among my psychology textbooks in my dorm, I knew I had to abandon the dreams I had envisioned. This decision was far from easy, but we needed economic support immediately. Sarah was too young to take on such a burden. I remember vividly the day I withdrew from college, despite my advisor's suggestions to stay. I dropped out at 20 to work as a receptionist at a small accounting firm. Though the pay wasn't high, it was steady, and living with my family saved us rent. The early months were tough, trading stimulating classes for phone calls and paperwork. I also aided my mother's care and helped Sarah with her studies. At night, I questioned my choice, but resolved to persist. I hoped my mother's health would stabilize and Sarah would gain independence, allowing me to return to school. Though the dream faded, I clung to hope, while accepting reality. I advanced to an administrative role, giving a slight salary increase. This income covered our family's expenses and my mother's health care. I ensured Sarah had everything for school. My efforts paid off as Sarah graduated with scholarships, paving her way to college. I felt immense pride knowing she would achieve a degree. When she got her acceptance letter, we celebrated with ice cream, reminiscent of my own childhood achievements. During this period, I set aside my dreams, education plans, and personal time to dedicate myself to my family. Despite exhaustion, I always reminded myself it was for my family's sake. Despite my efforts and sacrifices, I often felt undervalued and as though my struggles were inconsequential. My mother's health was stabilizing, but she still needed significant care. She frequently lamented her hardships, barely acknowledging the efforts I made. Her harsh words stung, including remarks about how I should be doing better or how other daughters would do more. I pretended to be unaffected, but it was challenging. Meanwhile, the dynamic with Sarah shifted drastically when she started college. Initially, her excited weekly calls about classes and campus life brightened my days. Gradually, however, those calls dwindled, and she mostly reached out when she needed financial or specific help. Rarely did she inquire about our mother or me. Through Sarah's social media posts, I saw her having fun with college friends and enjoying spring break trips beyond my grasp. Each glimpse widened the chasm between us, leaving me uncertain about overcoming it. Even during her visits home, she prioritized time with high school friends, showing little interest in us. A pivotal moment occurred last week when Sarah graduated. Despite everything, I genuinely felt proud and joyful for her achievements. After months of preparation, I decided to give her a simple yet quality watch for job interviews, a gesture echoing the joy I felt at 16 receiving my first watch from Dad. Sarah's graduation was emotional, and I welled up as she accepted her diploma. However, at the post-ceremony party, my mother and I were sidelined. Sarah spent time with her college friends and stylish boyfriend Wesley, who threw cold glances our way. When I approached with her gift, busy Sarah dismissed me, leaving me feeling awkward. Quietly, I watched from a corner, swallowing my tears. It was then I overheard Sarah with Wesley, expressing embarrassment about her family, eager to move away and start a job to avoid us. Her icy words shocked and hurt me, remembering nights I helped with her homework and money I spared for her college needs rather than for my own desires. I confronted her the next day, hoping for an apology, but instead faced harsh criticism. She claimed it was pathetic I sacrificed my life for our mother, accused me of jealousy over her success, and reproached me for guilt-tripping her. As our mother, who sided with Sarah, insisted I was dramatic and should let Sarah be. At 30, with no degree, a stagnant job, an unappreciative mother, and a resentful sister, my youth felt like it was slipping away. I started to grapple with the idea of finding a new place to rediscover myself and prioritize my own needs. Yet, the thought of leaving my mother without support if her health worsened made me feel guilty. Haunted by these conflicted thoughts, I knew I needed to communicate my struggles openly. Carefully selecting words that wouldn't sound accusatory, I practiced what I wished to convey to my mother and Sarah repeatedly in my head. To reconcile, I invited Sarah over and proposed we go out for dinner, a suggestion she hesitantly accepted. Hoping for a moment of family warmth that could soften everyone's hearts, I spent the day cleaning the house and making our mother's favorite lasagna. However, the evening rapidly took a bad turn. Our mother began by accusing me of trying to induce guilt in her for falling ill. She said, "I never asked you to quit college. It was your own decision, wasn't it? Do you think I wanted to ruin your life by getting sick?" She continued, recalling how she had cared for her ill father for years without ever complaining. I attempted to clarify that I wasn't blaming her, simply wanting to show my gratitude, but she refused to listen. Sarah mostly remained quiet, saying I was being overly sensitive and that's not how she intended it, yet her expression proved the sincerity of her earlier words. She began discussing her accomplishments, mentioning her degree, job offers, and plans to relocate to the city. While looking at me, she remarked, "What have you done? You're nearly 30, still living at home, working as a secretary." At that moment, unable to restrain my tears, I sobbed, explaining how deeply her words had hurt me and questioned why she acted as though everything was my fault. Our mother accused me of attempting to ignite a conflict with Sarah. I stated, "From now on, I won't assist you anymore, and I don't feel the necessity to be involved. I no longer need to sacrifice myself to protect you." They reacted to my declaration as though I was pretending to be the only one suffering, saying, "Don't speak like that," to which I replied, "Reflecting on these 9 years, my life has been miserable." It was then I realized there was no longer a reason for me to stay. Holding back tears, I exited the house, experiencing an unprecedented tightness in my chest. Currently, I am residing at my best friend Vanessa's house, contemplating my next steps. Vanessa, who has been my friend since high school, is one of the few I've remained in contact with over the years, always taking my side. Feeling guilt-ridden, I considered returning home, but then my mother accused me of being ungrateful. That was the decisive moment. I ceased all financial assistance to them, informing my mother that I needed some time alone and away from home. She attempted to invoke guilt by claiming her health would deteriorate if I left, but I was determined to go. I proposed alternative solutions such as hiring home care or seeking my sister's assistance, yet she rejected these, insisting she couldn't rely on anyone else. Subsequently, she sent messages oscillating between blame and pleas for me to come back. I have since blocked her number and haven't heard from Sarah at all. Vanessa's apartment isn't spacious, but she has offered me a place to stay. It's a peculiar feeling having free evenings without the necessity to rush home to tend to my mother or household chores. I am still adapting to this tranquility. No longer burdened by the need to answer my mother's calls for assistance, I'm gradually rediscovering myself apart from being a caregiver, though it's still somewhat challenging. For the first time in a long while, I'm feeling hopeful about my future. It's been a month since leaving home. Staying with Vanessa felt like a breath of fresh air, and her support has been tremendous. With the savings I had amassed over the years, I decided to enroll in community college. Currently, I am taking an introductory psychology class and an English writing class. Returning to school and studying again feels indescribably gratifying. When I attended class for the first time in several years, I was engulfed by a mix of excitement and anxiety, having been absent from school for a long duration. I worried about being the oldest in the class and my ability to keep up, but my concerns were unfounded. The class included several adult students close to my age, and some were even older. Balancing household duties, work, and school has been quite demanding, Navigating social life in this new setting introduces a unique type of stress, unlike any I've faced before. It's more about personal growth rather than mere survival. I've started therapy to help understand my family's dynamics, and speaking with a third party has been incredibly helpful. My therapist has guided me in establishing boundaries and boosting my self-esteem. Together, we've explored why I felt the need to sacrifice myself so readily. Last week, I encountered my Aunt Lynn, my mother's sister, at the supermarket. Lynn has always been like a second mother to me, so we've remained close. She inquired why I hadn't been answering my mother's calls, and I briefly shared my current situation with her. There are instances when I feel relief knowing that not all responsibilities rest solely on my shoulders, especially with some support from work and family. One day, Lynn invited me to a local cafe for a crucial conversation. "Rebecca, our family knows the extent of your sacrifices for your mother and Sarah. You left college at the age of 20 to support the family," she said, offering to help me. After completing various procedures, my aunt gifted me $50,000 from her inheritance. This unforeseen support has opened many possibilities for my future. More fulfilling than the financial help was the acknowledgement of my decade-long efforts by someone. Thanks to Lynn's assistance, I've been able to take initial steps towards a new life. I began searching for a new job and recently applied for an entry-level position in a local nonprofit's HR department. I got hired, and the salary is slightly better than my current job, with options for career advancement. Most importantly, this role is meaningful and fits my interests. Overall, I'm cautiously optimistic as I keep an eye on my progress. I've returned to hiking, a hobby I'd neglected for years, realizing there's a long journey ahead to address years of codependency and rebuild my life. I'm resolved to move forward positively, irrespective of how tough it gets. I'm learning to trust myself and my decisions, and consequently, notable changes have emerged, differing significantly from before. My strong interest in psychology has played a part in this, and I want to experience recognition and appreciation for my efforts within a workplace truly. I continue my community college studies, which are progressing well. Next year, I'll earn my associate degree. With my aunt's support, I plan to transfer to a 4-year university to pursue a bachelor's degree in psychology. Balancing work and school is challenging, but I'm approaching it with greater motivation than ever before. Living with Vanessa has strengthened my ties with the community, family, and friends. While tough times persist, I strive not to dwell on them excessively. My therapist's guidance is helping me face these emotions and set proper boundaries. Sarah recently graduated and relocated for her new job. She texted wishing me well, even in her absence. I didn't respond, feeling sadness over how our relationship can no longer return to its past state. I hold on to memories of our closeness while coming to terms with the change. I hoped for a future opportunity to converse more openly, which unexpectedly came earlier than anticipated. Before Sarah moved out, we met once more. Upon arrival, I considered leaving but ultimately stayed to listen to her perspective. Initially, the atmosphere was tense and uncomfortable. My mother appeared older and more fatigued than I remembered, sparking a brief pang of guilt. However, I recalled my reasons for leaving home. As the evening progressed, my mother opened up, appreciating my support over the years. She admitted taking me for granted and feared losing me, but shared she was learning to prioritize herself without being selfish. Challenges persist, and I am still finding ways to balance my new life. Balancing my own needs with empathy towards others is something I'm striving for in a healthy manner. I'm on a journey to forgive my family without being taken advantage of again. It's a process with ups and downs, but I feel confident that I am on the right track. I am proud of my strength in pursuing these necessary changes. 3 months after leaving home, Aunt Lynn informed me that my mother had been hospitalized. She was taken to emergency care due to the worsening of an autoimmune condition and could no longer live independently. Since my departure, her health had deteriorated quickly. She often forgot her morning medication, struggled with rehabilitation alone, and could not complete household chores. She refused meal deliveries, expressing distrust in food prepared by others, and even found basic shopping difficult. Eventually, her refrigerator was left with spoiled food, and she was not eating properly. Once hospitalized, she had to accept that home care was necessary. Aunt Lynn arranged for a social worker and home health aides, and eventually my mother reluctantly accepted their help. During this period, my sister Sarah contacted me unexpectedly. "Rebecca, I need to talk. Can we chat on the phone?" she wrote. Over the phone, she explained that Aunt Lynn had told our entire family about my years of sacrifices and the events following our mother's illness, the years I put aside my education to support Sarah's schooling. At the graduation party, harsh comments from cousins Megan and Tiffany had deeply affected Sarah. Those criticisms coming from longtime friends weighed heavily. "Why disparage your sister who sacrificed so much, calling her a loser?" Seeing our mother's hospitalization reality, Sarah seemed to regret her previous actions. "Rebecca, I'm sincerely sorry," she confessed. "I was foolish, wanting recognition in my new world, ashamed of my past. I deluded myself into thinking my success was my doing, forgetting reliant on your sacrifices. I see now how selfish and cruel it was." Sarah planned a weekend visit and mentioned exploring options for our mother's care, offering to contribute a portion of her salary towards the expenses. Her unexpected apology is hard to fully accept, yet actions, not words, will show her sincerity with time. "Rebecca, you and I should meet in person," Sarah proposed. After considering, I agreed to a brief meeting when she returned. At the cafe, Sarah appeared noticeably thinner.
"I'm truly sorry."
Awareness only dawned after outside feedback about my foolishness. "Despite distance, please allow me to help financially, and I'll use vacations for visits." "I promise sustained contact online with Mom," she assured. I didn't feel deceit in her words, but past experiences make instant trust challenging. I plan to observe if she follows through with financial support and regular contact. Regarding our mother's condition, Aunt Lynn provides updates. Initially disoriented, my mother has gradually adjusted to the caregiving service, reportedly building a good rapport with her helpers. Although I'm not prepared to meet her directly, knowing she's recovering brings peace. Aunt Lynn's actions have initiated essential changes in our family, but time will reveal their authenticity. Right now, I'm concentrating on studies and work, observing from a distance to see if everyone upholds their responsibilities. I've chosen to pursue my path, while keeping happiness at the forefront, striving for balanced family relations.